Did you know that Amsterdam is haunted?
And we are going to take you to some of the scariest places in the city.
This street is literally named Spooky Street. So apparently back in the day, Helena fell in love with a sailor, but the sailor fell in love with her sister Diana. Helena did not like that, so she threw her down into the cellar to try to kill her. Came back 2 days later, still found her breathing, beat her to death. And then on her deathbed, she confessed to the sailor husband guy that she killed her sister, and he damned her to hell. And now she haunts this street, Spooky Street, or Ghost Alley, here in Amsterdam. One of the scariest things that I've found about Spooky Street is the current people who walk back and forth on Spooky Street are very frightening.
I mean, isn't that kind of like everywhere?
The red light district, yeah.
The red light district.
So what do you think of Spooky Street here? How scary, do you feel the ghost of Helena?
You know, I think if we came back like at nighttime, maybe I'd feel a little more spooky.
They locked the street up.
They locked the street up. There's like spikes on top of the gate, and so I don't know.
The wind's picking up. It's Helena.
Well, then she's been out all day. They say that they lock it to keep her in, so that she just stays within this street, because this is where the cellar was that she pushed her sister down.
It's probably right here.
Street. I think it was all destroyed and all this has been rebuilt.
Just
but it's
play along.
It was probably right here.
How spooky do you find Spooksteeg? It's actually Spooksteeg.
Like stroopwafel, Spooksteeg.
Yeah.
but I like spook. It's fun.
Spooksteeg.
Like we're doing spooky rating, so my spooky rating is 4.5 out of 10 for the potential to be spooky, but it's not even a street. It's like an alley.
On to the next.
Continuing on. Stüssy store. So want a Stüssy sweatshirt.
No.
Oh my god, is that the line to get in the Stüssy store?
The Stüssy store has a lot? No. No, there's got to be something else. Is it that ramen place? Did that ramen place go viral?
No, it's the Stüssy store.
Why is there a line to go in Stüssy? What year is this? What's happening to the world?
It's 1993 and everyone is back into Stüssy. Man, do you know how many Stüssy t-shirts? I've perfected how to write it in the S.
That's
Obsessed.
Scary. That's scary.
Why is that scary?
Because we're in a scary video.
Oh yeah, that is scary. People wearing Stüssy in 2023 is scary, but I want to be one of those people again. Our next spooky haunted location is the Schreierstoren behind me right here. This dates back to the 15th century and translates to Weeping Tower, which I've heard that is not a correct translation. For the purpose of this video, that's what we're going to call it. And since the 15th century, it has been turned into a cafe.
So I think we're actually going to have dinner here at the Tower of Tears, Weeping Tower, Crying Tower, whatever you want to call it. One of the things on the menu is a pancake with bacon and cheese and pineapple. Don't do that. That's scary.
Just gonna place our order here in the Weeping Tower. No haunted vibes yet. They are playing Queen though. They call this the Weeping Tower because it's right by the river here in Amsterdam. And this is where sailors used to depart from, and their wives and girlfriends and everything would come to this particular location and basically cry while their sailors were leaving for war and for battle. 60% of those sailors never came back, so hence the tears. And the joke is some of those were actually like tears of happiness that the sailors aren't coming back, and they're like, woohoo! So this got nicknamed the Weeping or Wailing House.
All right, so the scariest thing about the Tower of Tears is absolutely the food. I'm kidding. Well, I mean, shots fired.
The stairs going down to the water closet, to the toilet.
Those were scary. It's the tourist trap frozen burger patties, and it's just not that good. And it's expensive, so that's kind of frightening. That's what I mean. The people were really nice.
Super nice.
Super nice. We talked about it being haunted. They told me that there's ghosts there. They moved the chandeliers. Sure.
They said it's more of a friendly ghost, though. It's not like a haunting in the traditional sense of like, you know, they're mean ghosts or like dangerous. They're like, oh, it's a friendly vibe. So confirmed.
So if I have to rate the what are we calling it? The Weeping Tower? The Crying Tower? Giving this place like
Schreierstoren.
I'm gonna give it a 3. Because they were really nice. That wasn't that spooky at all. It's a nice room. terrible burger, but it was a nice room.
Yeah, and they had like 90s American jams playing, which
and like
is spooky in its own right.
Good
but-
Vibrations by the Beach Boys. when I
Oh yeah,
walked in,
and that
so
thrown in
that's
too,
not,
and
not
like
spooky.
Summertime by, Fresh Prince.
I want to tell you 2 scary stories. The first is about a couple of silly vloggers who, instead of hitting record on the camera to tell you a story, they turned the camera off. The second story is about the house with the blood stains in Amsterdam. Legend has it a mayor lived in the house and went insane. He started painting shapes and symbols with his own blood on the walls of the outside of his house. And to this day, you can still see those symbols. So people live here now. There's apartments and offices in this building. And you can literally see the writing on the walls from blood.
And allegedly, like, you can hear footsteps and hear screams, the typical hocus pocus. Don't shush me.
I don't hear any.
Oh my god, wait.
Oh, it's just those guys.
How spooky would you rate the Blood House?
I think this is not all that spooky, to be quite honest. It was a long time ago. I will give them credit, though. There is actually blood still on the walls, so I'm going to give it a 5. Yeah, it's a 5 out of 10.
Okay, I wonder if you could go in if that might change your mind.
They won't let me in. All right, what's next? So a lot of the scary stuff here in the Netherlands and in Amsterdam specifically where we are seems to have to do with somebody dying and then haunting that area.
I mean, isn't that how things become haunted, though? Doesn't somebody have to die in, like, a tragic death?
I guess.
Committing suicide, mass graves.
Do you believe in
Killed
ghosts?
by your sister? No.
I don't either.
I mean, for this video? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I totally believe in
Oh my
ghosts. I'm very
God.
scared, yeah. Next up, the old church.
The Oude Kerk?
The Oude Kerk. Very, very haunted. Let's go in.
Let's go. I feel a presence of a beings around. Not really, it's a cool old church.
That's just me.
It smells old, which I kind of like about it. And the stained glass is pretty. It looks like they're doing some renovations.
The floor in here is literally all gravestones. There's 2,500 graves underneath this church with another 10,000 below. This might be the most haunted place in all of Amsterdam.
Only the wealthy were buried here back in the 16th and 17th century. So there must have been a lot of wealthy people at that time because there's a lot of graves here.
Okay, that was scary. That was scarier than the blood house.
Well, the Blood House, we couldn't go inside, so I think that was, part of the problem. Can't get the real spooky vibes.
We were also walking on top of thousands of dead people. I mean, they had babies on the walls. They had a spooky painting looking down on us. They had a chandelier. It was like the
missed the
haunted
babies.
Yeah, I got it's on the screen right now, Katrina. How spooky to you was the old church?
This is supposed to be one of the most haunted places in all of Amsterdam. For me, I would say 8 out of 10. I think you could, if you spent the night there, you would see
not
some,
survive.
You would see some things, you would hear some things.
Dead.
It would definitely.
That guy's cool.
Who has a truck like that in Amsterdam?
Dumb.
That's fucking stupid. Okay, that's too scary even for me. Like, I can't do it.
All right, what's next here?
Here behind us, we have the Vog.
What does that mean?
It means the Way House.
The Way House.
So this used to be a place back in 15th century. What do you think?
Long time ago.
This is where they used to weigh women to see if they were witches or not. Yeah.
How do you tell if someone's a witch by their weight?
Well, they set a certain weight limit, and if you are under that, if you weigh less than that, then clearly you're a witch.
Okay, and then what happened?
They were burned. Like burned at the stake.
That's scary.
Yeah, they burned witches. This was more poor people than the wealthy.
So they would accuse people, and the poor people couldn't pay to get out of it.
Well, and you think about it, back in those days, that the wealthy were always like a little bit heavier because it meant that you had food.
Okay, yeah, okay.
You don't remember that, like from history class? It was always like people that were a little plumper. Like you look at old like Renaissance paintings and stuff, and they're always like little chubby cheeks, and
so they paid to get out of it.
They could afford food, and the poor people couldn't. So clearly, they were witches.
Wow.
This is also a location where surgeons would perform operations on some of those, quote, witches that were destined to be burned at the stake, went to the surgeons instead. So as they're performing these surgeries, all of the blood ran out into
Blood Street. This street is literally right downhill from the Vogue, so the blood could run right down here from the executed prisoners. Yo! Saying hi to our fans. Also, they did amputations on this street, so there was just blood everywhere. So they call it Blood Street. It's kind of gross. And spooky and scary. So this is Blood Street. We're not going to film too far down it because there are red lights on Blood Street. Don't want to film people working.
Well, you get in trouble if you do that too. And we're not intentionally trying to do that, but someone might think that we were.
We'll leave those ladies be. Blood Street does not feel very spooky to me. How did the Vogue feel to you? Was it spooky?
I don't think so. The Vogue was like a bustling cafe. People were having beers and cocktails, and it was, I'm not spooky here, so I would rate that one like a 1.
I'll give Blood Street a 2, 3 even, because it is called Blood Street.
It is called Blood Street,
I like
and
that.
there are red lights, like blood.
I'm not sure how scary all of this is. The stories are cool, the history's neat, but the Walking Dead of the general populace out here is kind of frightening on a Saturday night here in Amsterdam.
Well, you know, this is where you have to go as a tourist in Amsterdam. We're down in the thick of it because, you know, drugs, hookers,
Vloggers,
bad food.
find our bicycles. We have made it now to the Spinhuis. Spinhuis or Spinning House?
Spinhuis.
Spinhuis. What's the Spinhuis?
Spinhuis is basically a penitentiary that was for women who were convicted of pretty much being hookers.
Oh.
So having sex with men in brothels, even not sexual crimes, but just regular crimes were also sent here too to weave clothing. That was their punishment.
Oh, like spinning.
Like spinning, yeah. So they would make clothes basically, and it's like being in jail. It's like their jail job.
So tell me why this is spooky and haunted now.
Did you see the wind pick up? I think it's because one of these dead hookers are still here. This is haunted because one of the women prisoners that was in here fell in love with one of the monks that worked. One of the monks from a local monastery?
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, but they fell in love. When they found out about their little love affair, she was sentenced to life in the Spinhuis, basically making clothes until she died. And he basically got a pass because he's a monk and he was wealthier than her and whatever. So he got a pass.
Cool,
He was
bro. Not cool, bro.
He was protected by the church.
Ah, shocking. Never heard that story before.
He was so distraught that they couldn't be together because he was so in love with her that he actually went into his room and hung himself because he'd never be able to see her again. And now his ghost is said to just be wandering the halls looking for his lost love, and that he continues to repeatedly hang himself over and over again. It's
Okay.
like his
That's
hell,
spooky, yeah.
his whatever.
That's
his-
spooky.
what
I'll
do you
give
call
it that.
Purgatory. People say that they still hear like his wails and he's calling out for his love. And the sun is going down, if you haven't noticed. And
getting
I
way
think
spookier.
things are getting spookier.
Okay, so rate the Spinhuis.
Based on the story and based on this gigantic building and everything, I'd give it a solid 7. Because I mean, torrid love affair, could never see each other again, hung himself. I feel like hangings are pretty brutal. Like,
Gross,
there's always
bad.
like hangings that people come back to haunt you.
Yeah,
like,
don't do that.
Right?
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Ah, the spooky bells of Dam Square here in Amsterdam.
That's kind of spooky.
It's a little spooky.
But they sound happy though, actually.
This is one of the most popular tourist sites in the city. It's super famous. Amsterdam, Dam Square. It's where the dam used to be to, like, you know, block the water.
From the Amstel River, so Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, the L just switched to an R at some point. It's sad. Don't worry about it.
Amsterdam was too hard to say.
That's right. I gotta tell you, not feeling spooky vibes. Scare me, Katrina. Tell me something scary about Dam Square.
I mean, besides the fact that this is one of like the main tourist areas, so
That
it
is
has to deal
scary.
with all of that, which is scary in and of itself. This is actually where there was I would call it a mass shooting on Liberation Day in 1945 at the end of the war.
End of the war? They shot a bunch of people at the end of the war? That's not cool.
The Germans did.
What? Come on, guys.
So they were celebrating out here in Dam Square, and they basically opened up fire with machine guns on a big crowd and killed 30 people.
That sucks.
Which, in my mind, that's a mass shooting. So,
That's, yeah.
yeah. And it said that those souls that died that day still wander around this square poking tourists.
Haunting the square,
And
if
like
you will.
whispering in their ear.
So we need to rate how spooky Dam Square is. I think it's my turn to rate something.
Yeah, you do this one.
I give it a, I don't know, a 3.642?
Okay.
3.642.
What, have you ever been anywhere haunted, like legitimately haunted? Besides these places that we just like walked through.
I got a secret for you, Katrina. I don't really believe in that.
I didn't ask that. I just asked if you'd ever been to a place that's like been haunted.
Well, I think by default, not believing in that, my answer has to be no. But I like scary movies a lot.
Okay, like Freddy Krueger? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever been anywhere haunted? You have?
The Whaley House in San Diego. It's one of like the most haunted sites in the United States, and it's right in my hometown. There's like a curtain that never stops moving. A bunch of people were hung in the backyard there, and one of the kids like basically got clotheslined, like legit by a clothesline, like was beheaded, and so there's a lot of tragic stuff that happened there, and it gives spooky vibes.
Well, now that we've cheered everyone up to leave the video, I think we did a really good job at showing you Amsterdam's spookiest, scariest, most haunted places. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you want to see the next video. I think it's a lot less haunted, but it's going to be cool. We're going to go to a castle next video.
Yeah, I hope. Well, castles are haunted. That could be haunted and we didn't even know.
Listen,
But yeah, less haunted than this.
castles are cool. Hit subscribe. But when you do hit subscribe, please, gentle touch on that subscribe button.
I like it.
Thank you very much.
Woo!